All right, so we're going to formally get started here. My name is, um, so somebody's suggesting turn off cameras to reserve bandwidth. Yes, that's probably a good idea. So people who are not the speakers, please keep your camera off as well. So my name is Greg Sterling. I'm a contributing editor for Search Engine Land, and I'm really excited to have four great local SEO practitioners, real experts in the field, to talk about what's going on, not just in local SEO, but generally with their customers, their clients, their organizations themselves, and to have a conversation with you guys as well. And this is the second installment of Search Engine Land Live, which is a series of semi-informal discussions about topics that are really important to marketers right now amid the coronavirus crisis. And next week is going to be one with Ginny Marvin on PPC, and that should be a very good one. So you'll be hearing more about that later on, and we'll post the video for people who didn't have a chance to attend this session. And we shut it off at about 50 or 60 folks. So before we get into the introductions, well, let's do introductions first. So Adam, you're the main guy on the screen here, so why don't you tell us who you are?
It's a big head, I guess. Take up too much space. Hi, everybody. My name is Adam Dorfman. I'm the director of product growth at Reputation.com. We're a software platform that allows businesses to get found, get chosen, and get better through business listings, online reputation management, surveys, customer experience, and other things like that.
Okay, Krystal, you're next on my hierarchy of people on the right-hand side of the screen here, so you talk next.
Awesome. I am Krystal Taing from RIO SEO, Director of Local Strategy. We're also a SaaS platform primarily for multi-location businesses. So what we've been doing in the last weeks is really taking all of the updates and changes and working with our multi-location brands and determining how to adapt them. So here to add and share feedback on that.
Great. And then our esports expert, Mary Bowling.
Mary, I think you're muted.
Okay, sorry. Always on the wrong end. I'm Mary Bowling. I am working with SterlingSky right now because they have purchased Local U, and I came up through Local U.
And you want to say anything else about yourself? You have a really nice striped top on, I think.
Well, thank you. I have a nice striped top on.
I like it, actually. It looks really good. You look kind of tan as well. You look healthy in this sort of disease environment. How is that possible?
I live in Colorado.
Okay.
Always sunny.
We have a lot of sunshine.
Okay, Niki, you're the last of the four here.
Hi, I'm Niki Mosier. I work at 2 October's digital marketing agency in Denver, Colorado. I'm the SEO practice lead, and so I get to kind of help guide process and keep our team updated on what's going on in the SEO industry.
Okay, so the first
I'm
question.
also in Colorado with Mary.
But you're not actually with Mary right now.
No, not with Mary. We're a few hours apart.
All right. Before we get into the meaningful conversation, I want to ask you, which term do you favor, coronavirus or COVID-19, and why?
How about the Washington virus?
That's a different conversation.
Okay, then I'm out.
Do you have a preference?
I've been saying COVID and dropping off the 19 because it's the least amount of syllables and the fastest to type, but I'm indifferent, I think, overall.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with Adam on that one.
Yeah, I think I've been leaning more towards COVID-19. I think it carries less of a negative connotation than like coronavirus. But I mean, that could just be my personal preference as well.
Yeah, I prefer coronavirus because it's got more fun name combination possibilities. So, all right, Mary, do you have a preference?
I've been saying coronavirus, but I also use COVID.
Yeah. So we have the teams aligned here now. Mary and me against everyone else.
Perfect.
The
All right.
old people against the young people. Don't start in, Greg.
I'm one of the young people, Mary.
Oh,
All right. Anyway, so you know, we did a prep call just kind of briefly to talk about some of the issues that we wanted to bring up, and one of the things that was really striking was you guys talked a lot about just wanting to kind of address the human side of this. So let's just feel free to tell us what you're seeing on in terms of like how people are responding to the crisis, and what's your kind of take on how people are reacting, both in your companies and among your clients, that kind of stuff. Jump in, anybody. Krystal, you look like you want to start.
I'm happy to kind of start. I know like on our call earlier this week when we were huddling, one of the things that I noticed that has changed drastically in the last 1 to 2 weeks really has been how we start our conversations, both internally and with our clients and our brands. And a lot of it is just like checking in on each other. We're not getting and jumping straight to business. Most of the time, we're like, how are you? How are you surviving? And remembering at the end of the day that although we're here supporting brands and really trying to make a difference, it's important to know that we're just checking in with each other and seeing how we're coping and if there's anything we can do to support one another. So I've really kind of liked that aspect of how everything's changed.
Yeah, I think kind of similar on our end. I think we've definitely had some tough conversations with clients in the last couple of weeks. I know personally I had 2 clients kind of have that conversation with me yesterday about needing to pause services. But I think from a team standpoint, we're kind of initiating more interactive things because we're so used to being in the office together. Now we're doing kind of like a remote hour-long check-in where you can kind of work but still have your camera and mic on, just kind of have office banter as we were in office together. So it's kind of forced us to be a little more creative, which has been interesting and fun.
so at
Yeah.
SterlingSky, we deal with a lot of small businesses, as well as some medium-sized brands. And mostly what we've been concerned with is what's going on at Google My Business and trying to checking in on all the clients' knowledge panels, seeing how their posts are working, seeing if they have the ability to temporarily close their business, adding keyword names like takeout and delivery to the end of restaurants, trying to facilitate getting information up on the internet about businesses, who's open, who's closed, what are their hours, what are they doing, and that's been keeping everybody pretty busy.
Yeah, and I would say one thing I mentioned earlier was that for many, I believe everybody on the call, all of the people speaking on this call, but I suspect many people in this audience as well too, in alignment with what Mary was just saying, I almost have a second full-time job trying to keep up with all of the changes happening, not just on Google, but on Facebook and Yelp and TripAdvisor and on, and making sure that gets communicated across our internal organization and correctly communicated outwards to our clients as well too, who are starving for information. Not even just what should we be doing, but what can we do so we can start thinking about that. And with as quickly as things are changing, it's like daily updates that we have to like communicate outwards, which is has been challenging. And our clients, I know, like really appreciate it that we make this effort, but it's definitely something that takes extra work.
So Mary started to get into this a little bit, and you're doing that, Adam. What are the common problems that you're seeing, come up for your clients? What are the issues that they're having to deal with right now? The sort of most pressing things.
So, if you're asking, I'll start. It's really how do we communicate to our communities and our customers on Google search results? That is by far the biggest challenge, especially with our healthcare clients, because so many of them have urgent care centers and clinics and all these locations throughout their different communities, but they don't actually want people to show up there. They want them to call, or they want virtual care. They want them to, if they think they have the virus, to go to a virus testing facility and maybe not to a different facility. And working with them, like I think Mary, you were saying about how do we leverage Google Posts to do this, or how can we update business names? Is that possible? And how do we mark something temporarily closed just to stop anybody from going there? Those are the big ones. Just how do we communicate on Google search results?
You guys should feel free to just jump in.
Yeah, no, I would just kind of reiterate that that's been really the biggest challenge for us is, you know, we have these guidelines and parameters about how we typically manage businesses. And it's almost like in the last 2 weeks, that's kind of gone out the window and we're just answering an immediate need. Like either come to our grocery store during these hours if you're immunocompromised, if you're elderly, or don't show up because we don't want you, if you have symptoms, to come to our clinic and potentially, you know, infect other customers that are here. So just really reiterating what Adam said is how do we communicate that as clearly and consistently as possible where users are? And a lot of that time is Google My Business, Google search.
Are people your customers building new pages specifically for the COVID stuff? You know, or content areas out in their websites? Is that happening as well?
Yeah, we've definitely not only built like, you know, separate pages to support locations that are open. So instead of saying, here's our closed locations, here's our open locations, we've also, you know, built pages that say this is how we're supporting consumers or adjusting our services during this time frame. So again, thinking about like banks, maybe they're doing virtual teller services, or they now have additional barriers to protect customers that are coming into the branches. So definitely spinning a lot of that stuff up like way quicker than we ever would right now is actually kind of amazing to see how quickly, you know, brands and organizations that are typically slower to adopt these processes are really responding quickly.
Mary,
Yeah, we've had the unique challenge. We have some like outdoor shopping mall type clients where the malls themselves are closed, but they also have restaurants within the malls that are open for like delivery and takeout. So trying to figure out how to mark the listing as closed, but also communicate within the listing through posts that they still are open for those types of services has been an interesting challenge.
Yeah, and the fact that Google keeps changing what's happening. I mean, GMB is very, very buggy right now. So I think it's really important for us all to be on top of what's happening, what the changes are, what Google's saying. And I know that at SterlingSky, I think we have 3 or 4 Google product experts, of which Krystal is one, not at SterlingSky, but she's a GMB product expert. And that is a super valuable person to have around in these times because they really understand all the nuances of Google My Business and can help the rest of us keep up with things.
Well, let's
our clients.
Yeah, so I'm seeing your question, Melanie. We'll get let's see. I mean, it is a GMB relevant question. I'm going to put it on hold for just 1 second. We'll get to it in a second. Why don't you guys tell the audience, tell one another, what are the really specific GMB issues right now? I mean, I know there are a lot of things broken on it, but what in particular are you having problems with? Are you seeing that's not working as well as it should be or used to work?
I would say the biggest challenge we've had is Google has limited the elements that you can edit in near real time if you're not in the healthcare space. So if you're any business that's not healthcare, you have limited edits that only apply to special hours, description, Google posts, and attributes. Everything else, like if you're trying to edit your phone number, your business name, your primary hours, those are getting delayed anywhere from like 3 to 5 days or even longer. So I think that's been a challenge for us. On the flip side, you know, we've been seeing really good turnaround and speed for healthcare related organizations, but I think that's been one of the largest challenges that we weren't anticipating during this time.
Yeah, I think for our businesses, Q&A, we were hoping was something that we would be able to utilize and be able to seed quick questions about being able to, if they're open or if they're open for delivery, and those quickly was not an option.
Yeah, that happened to us too. I remember last week on Monday, maybe being on a call with somebody at Google and them saying, yes, do Q&A. That's a really good way to get messaging out there. And literally like within 24 hours, it was shut off. And I know the reasons why people were putting questions, claiming employees had given them COVID, and like you understand why they're removing all of this user-generated content. But at the same time,
Right.
Krystal and Niki's point, there's so few ways to actually get good information out there other than posts. And posts, let's be frank, are not the most visible things. No matter, like, you have to swipe to the right if you're in a mobile app or device, and it's below the fold in desktop. So it's certainly the best way to deliver this information now, but it's not an ideal way to deliver this information.
Yeah. And posts are kind of screwed up too. I mean, there are certain businesses that if they were verified after a certain date, they can't use posts at all. Yeah, there's a lot of mess.
Well,
And
my understanding, Mary, is that posts are sort of still broken, that a lot of people were having trouble with posts. I had thought that they had been fixed, but that's not true, right?
the latest thing I have, although I did not check this morning, was that what's happening is there's a thing called COVID posts, which are different than regular posts, and Google is trying to put all their efforts into making those work, um, and not really worrying about the other ones. Do you know anything about the COVID posts, Krystal?
Yeah, so I do believe all Google post issues were resolved. There were some bugs. And yeah, now there's a new post type called COVID-19 that shows a little bit more prominently both on search and maps. It is limited and is specific for updating data about your business or services in relation to COVID-19. So it doesn't have an image. It's just basically an open text box. And then you can add a URL if you want to, trigger them to do something, whether you're a restaurant and you're saying, place an order for pickup, or you want to go to a URL to learn more information about a business. But it is open to everyone that has posts available. So I think there was a question very early on about whether that's available for hotel chains, and hotels, they've never had posts available. So any changes to posts right now just still aren't available for hotels.
So Melanie, why don't you come on and just unmute yourself and then ask your question directly.
Hi. Yeah, so my name is Melanie. I work for SuiteAQ. We're a listing management and reviews management tool. Coming to your point, we did have a lot of clients that would come up to us and ask us, what should we update, regular hours or special hours? And this was even before Google has released a temporarily closed status. So based on your recommendations and what you've seen, what would you suggest adding for clients? I don't necessarily know when their locations will be, opening up again.
So there's a little bit of discussion among SEOs about what's going to happen. Are you going to just, if you mark yourself as closed, you don't get shown in the search results. So, and temporarily closed, I think, is doing the same thing. There are some people that are concerned about, is this going to hurt my rankings when I'm not closed anymore? And I don't think that's an answer any of us really have.
I would say just to that point, Mary, I know all of the PEs have provided that feedback to Google. So I don't think that's Google's intention. I think it's just what happened in the light of all of this stuff changing. But I know a ton of users have posted on the forum that they changed their business temporary close and it immediately dropped from the search results. I know we've provided that feedback to the GMB team. So hopefully, they'll address something like that, because I know that's not the intention.
Yeah, and I asked Google about this yesterday, and what they said was that it's not going to have any long-term lasting impact on your prominence factors. So when your business reopens again, all things being equal, you should be back to where you were previously. And what they basically said was better to have it marked temporarily closed and disappear from the rankings temporarily, if that's happening, than to have people show up to your business from a customer experience standpoint, than to have people show up to your business and you get the ranking, but then you have unhappy customers in the long run because they show up and you're not open.
Yeah, and I would say too, to Melanie's specific question, whether special hours or temporarily closed is the ideal scenario. I know from Google, if you have adjusted hours and you're not closed, you should be using special hours versus temporarily closed. But if you're closed, whether it's a couple days or a week, their intention is for you to use the temporarily closed feature. My opinion, again, coming from multi-location kind of world, it's manual, so I don't suggest it for any brand that has more than a couple of locations, because that's, our team going in and pressing the button a million times. And special hours really work as well, but it does require that constant update communication, because you do have to apply special hours to a specific day. So, you have both of those options. I think temporarily closed is a little bit more prominent in the way that it displays with the banner. But I think both of them get you what you need. It's just in terms of how you manage it.
So just to summarize, what I'm hearing is correct. So you're recommending for anybody that has any open, restaurants that deliver or are offering takeout, for anybody that is open at all, special hours, and everybody else temporarily closed. Is that correct?
Yes, I would agree with that, because you're not technically closed at that point. And with restaurants in particular, Google's definitely making an effort to add more attributes and making them prominent. So I would suggest taking advantage of that as well, whether it's takeout or curbside pickup. Like, there's some they're already supporting, some that it seems like they're going to support in the future. So I would keep an eye out on that if you're working with restaurants.
And I would also say that they definitely support keyword stuffed business names. So that's part of this whole equation too.
Just know that if you're not in the healthcare space, it's going to take a couple days to publish those edits for now.
Exactly.
So let's do so some of these questions have been addressed. If you don't feel your question has been addressed, then you can re-ask it or reframe it. I'm going to mispronounce your name. Belen Conchina, is that correct? Are you there? Yes. Okay. So why don't you unmute? You're saying, why don't you unmute and then to talk about your situation?
Well,
But
hi
nobody else.
everyone. First of all, I'm sorry for my English. Hope everyone could understand me.
Yes.
I live in Spain and I manage a listing for hotel chains. Some chains, they have like 100 hotels, so I manage a lot of businesses. Right now, the possibilities that hotel has, they're very limited. We don't have options for posting, doing posts, editing the description. So we don't have any possibility to communicate to the clients. In our agency, we are like trying to see if we mark them as a temporarily closed or just leave it open. I've been like researching different hotels all over the place, and I haven't seen anyone like doing it. So I'm afraid if we mark them, we will start losing ranking, or even we have like situations that we have like spam duplicates with a lot of reviews, and they will start getting more relevance than our official business if we do it.
So I'm happy, this is Krystal, I'm happy to respond to that. I think there's a couple nuances there. Unfortunately for hotels, hours don't display on the listing, so special hours aren't applied. So your primary option is temporarily closed. I think we've all kind of determined that there's no long-term ranking impacts from being marked temporarily closed, so I don't think that should be a concern. But as you said, if you have duplicates that are not marked temporarily closed and they're displaying and they may include your business information, it might make more sense for you to keep your listing open so that your listing is there, and hopefully, people are calling before they just show up at your hotel to get information. But it's kind of like you might have to try it out and see what happens. If you're trying to solve a problem from customers coming in and you guys are closed, then it might make more sense to display as temporarily closed. If it's another reason why you want to make the updates, then there might be something else to explore there.
Anybody
Okay.
else want to add to that? Oh, do you have a follow-up? Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, and I wanted to like add something, but like I haven't seen any other hotels marking them like close. Does anyone have any experience or know why they wouldn't? Because I've been searching all like big hotels, small hotels, and they're all still open. I don't know if they are like just assuming that the people are not traveling right now, or it's hard like to make the decision what to recommend our client, because we are thinking about long-term decisions, how would affect our business when it all comes back to normal. Sorry, and that's it.
So we do have a few hotel brands that right now have not made the decision to adjust their status, but that's as of this week. So I think it depends on how long this lasts. And again, if you guys have people showing up on site and you don't want them to, then I think that is where you start making that decision. If you don't have that challenge right now, and customers are still calling or going to the website before they show up, then I think you don't have to actually make that decision right now.
Krystal, I work with Belen. We were asking the questions about the hotels. We're in the same situation because we were, since the statement that we read from the president of Google saying that they would mark locations as temporarily closed and using as a source the government's official statements. It is now, since 10 days, I believe, that the Spanish government has declared all hotels to be closed, except for those. So we have situations also in which hotels are becoming hospitals, or hospitals remain open so that they can accommodate nurses and medical equipment. So it's a strange situation. There's a lot of doubts on how to manage this situation.
Yeah, no, that's actually a good question. And it came up recently when I was on a call. What I will suggest is, so we don't get too off track here, is find me on Twitter, send me a DM. I think my DM's are open, Krystal_Taing. And I actually have someone I was talking to earlier about that exact scenario, hotels converting into a medical office or into a hospital. So I'm happy to have a conversation online. So we'll get a little bit too sidetracked here.
And maybe Krystal, what we'll do is we'll write a post about this particular topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let me thank you for your questions. Let me go to Andy Simpson. Andy, are you there? I feel like a radio show host. Andy in Toledo, Ohio. You're on the line. Oh, but maybe he's not.
There we go. Having technical difficulties.
All right.
So once the user,
your volume's real low, Andy.
I'm on a basic setup. I apologize.
No, better. You sound good. Go ahead.
Okay. Once the user's seen the GMB message or they just click through to the website, what methods have the team been using to alert visitors on the site about the business's COVID situation? Have they been using pop-ups or banners, or what methods have you been using?
So I can jump in on this one. It depends on the vertical and the type of business, of course, but typically you want to make it very prominent, even if you are not in healthcare, or it's maybe like even if you're like a technology company, it still should be front and center, because everybody wants to know, are you at the very least keeping your own employees protected, all of that sort of information. But the more face-to-face that maybe your business is, the more that you have to interact with the public, more likely you're going to want to make it a modal window or some sort of pop-up that takes you to whatever page or even series of pages you've maybe created to address the specific topic. It's been a while, I feel like, since I've been to any sort of enterprise or larger business type website where I haven't seen COVID messaging. And even most small business websites, including like private schools in Chicago and things like that, I'm typically seeing COVID messaging front and center wherever I go now.
Okay, thank you.
Do you guys have any examples from customers or otherwise that you've just seen of really effective communication? I mean, what I'm thinking, this is a broader question than my example, but I'm thinking about all the emails. So there was this initial wave of emails that came through a message from our CEO, an important message where they were sort of laying out the sort of standard issue stuff. This is an uncertain time, and we care about health and safety, and so on and so forth. And then there was this sort of second wave of these emails, and they're generic, and they're exactly the same. And I just start deleting them. Have you seen any particularly good or effective communications, either substantively or from just a sort of channel standpoint, social media, Twitter, websites, whatever? Because there's a lot of really generic stuff going on, it seems to me, that sort of
I know.
seems.
I
Go
got
ahead.
an email from my insurance agent with advice on washing my hands and that sort of thing. It's like, are you kidding me? I don't need you
And
to spam up my email box with that.
and, and they said to you, and if you have a claim, Mary, we certainly will deny it.
Yeah, really. You have no COVID insurance.
But no, but seriously, what have you come across that's been pretty effective, either from a channel standpoint or a particular messaging standpoint?
So in my area, the Facebook groups are really, really active because we don't have nearby now or whatever it's called, and a lot
Next
of
door.
next door. Yeah. There's been so many things. So the Facebook groups are really the place where we get local communication, and even our sheriff's department and road and bridge department and places like that. The most accurate, up to date, quick news you can get locally is by going to the Facebook pages and groups. So
Are you seeing are businesses communicating there? I mean, other than the
yes,
public
we're
agencies?
open or we're closed, or we're selling all our toilet paper at cost because we're closed and we don't need it. Just person to person, person to community type communications.
And Mary, I think you hit on something that's really important that kind of is a nice segue from the previous question that was asked, which is how do I make sure my messaging, or how should I display COVID-related messaging on my website? But really the question should be, how do I get proper COVID messaging to my communities or my customers or my patients or what have you, wherever they may be? And that could be social media, it could be via email, it could be on your website, it could be through Google Posts. So I think that's something that everybody should be considering as well too. And as digital marketers, ideally we'd be strategic and proactively going to our clients and helping them figure that out also.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I think, like Greg, I think I've deleted every COVID-19 email that I've gotten in the last 2 weeks. But I have seen really clever posts on Twitter and Facebook from businesses or brands or influencers talking about a really cool feature that a brand has. So I think leveraging anything like that. I've seen pizza shops, put together a make your own pizza DIY kit that comes with, a pack of toilet paper, and that's posted on. And just like anything creative like that, that's going to break up that, kind of dry email that doesn't really make sense right now. People are looking for things to kill time. So you can talk about Tiger King or loop that into your conversation. I think, keep people busy at home right now.
Yeah, and I would say Instagram has been, if you want to talk about clever COVID messaging or trying to help your customers get through this and everything, Instagram is where I see the best of the best, like repeatedly. So many brands, especially like gyms that I'm part of, local restaurants and so on. I've seen some really, really clever, good things that have actually engage their community, and it feels like I wouldn't be surprised if their follower counts are growing because of this as well too, because they're actually like they don't have a business to run necessarily day to day, so they have all of this time and resources to put into social media, and it's amazing what some of these businesses are coming up with.
So I'm going to put you on the spot, Adam. Give us some examples.
Yeah, so I belong to a rock climbing gym, and some of the things that they're doing, which is creating these challenges where everybody will post themselves doing 10 pull-ups and then tag 10 other people along with the gym, and they'll just start chaining off of each other to the point where all of a sudden they start circling back to you, and you find yourself having to do 100 push-ups and 50 pull-ups in one day or whatever, because people just keep replaying you and stuff. So it's that kind of stuff where you're just like getting engaged, getting re-engaged, and like tagging each other. It's kind of reminds me of early Facebook days where you would suddenly get like, forward this chain, or early email chains, forward this, or you're going to break the streak, or you're going to go unlucky. And but it's visual this time, and it's fun, and we're all stuck in a house, and it seems to be like really striking the right nerve with a lot of people.
Yeah, I would definitely add that any healthcare organizations that can post like a story about their healthcare workers or teachers that are, you know, doing all this at-home learning and training, I think that would be incredibly powerful right now. Anything you can do to humanize this. If you can make it funny, that's great as well.
Yeah, I saw a local school on Facebook the other day that was having teachers do story time, like Facebook Live story times for the kids, which was really cool.
That's great, actually, for all the bored kids in the audience there.
Yeah, exactly.
So there have been a couple of sort of questions / discussion going on in the sidebar about reviews. Let's talk about the status of reviews right now on Google and maybe other platforms, as well as sort of general advice you would give about reviews. Tom brought that up. Tom Waddington brought that up, and Tom, you can also join if you want on this. So what's the status of reviews on GMB and elsewhere, and what is your general advice to customers, clients about the whole review process right now?
So Tom, were you going to join and chat about it? I'm happy to.
Go on, Tom.
Hi. Yeah, I was just going to reply on the chat there, but yeah, I like right away, I've told clients to stop asking for reviews on Google. I know it does look like normal to the user, and that's one of the problems. And I think because, you know, don't necessarily know what's going to happen, but what was important to me was, I know a lot of people just like leave a review, and that's their only means of communication to the business. And so if it looks to them like they've left a review, particularly a bad review, it's not going to get posted. They don't realize it. The business has no idea that the customer has a complaint or had an issue with the service. So just for that reason alone, I didn't want my clients asking for reviews on Google, because they could potentially missing out on a customer that they need to respond to immediately.
So I would, I think that's something we've been talking to our clients as well about, which is it's a good opportunity to diversify where you're requesting reviews at. One of the things that we did hear from Google was that these reviews are not just being deleted as they come in. They're kind of in this limbo state on the back end, where in the future, as of when I last heard, it was 2 days ago, as of that point, and this might change, they plan on publishing most of them. They might do some filter to get rid of all the COVID specific ones, but those are still planning to be published at some point when this crisis passes. So the only thing that I would potentially keep in mind is that we all know that review signals are certainly prominent in rankings for Google Maps and local search results. So while you may not want to heavily push Google review requesting right now, to shut it off entirely might have long-term effects, all things being equal, if your competitors are still requesting reviews on Google and suddenly the ban is lifted and they've increased their review count by 50 and you've only increased your review count by 10 or 15 or whatever the case may be. So you're gonna have to find that balance. And everything's, we don't know, like Google might decide all those reviews are just going to disappear. So we don't know yet.
That's something, you know, we've got clients that are just so focused on Google and they really kind of need to help other areas. So it's a good time for you to try to really focus more on some of these other ones you're neglecting where your rating's not so good.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyone else want to add to anything that's been said by Tom or Adam about
reviews? I would really just kind of reiterate, because we don't know what's happening with the reviews. Again, Google can change their mind on what their stance is today versus next week. So if there's even a possibility that those reviews will not get published or get sent to an organization, like I definitely think if you can, you know, pass those off to first-party reviews, like maybe you can push them more to your website, or to, another platform if you happen to have Yelp or Facebook. Because hopefully, they are there to share good news about your business, but in the case that they're not, and you want to be able to share that with your organization internally, at least you have that. So, just keep in mind that there's a potential that they might not display. It would be, I think, risky to, just stop, generating any, traffic or reviews to Google. But if you can diversify, this is definitely a time to consider that.
What about the other platforms? Google it seems for the time being has shut down reviews. I mean, sort of qualified by what you're saying, but other, Yelp has, for people in the U.S., Yelp has modified its review policy and guidelines, and then I don't know what's going on others like TripAdvisor or Trustpilot or Facebook or anywhere else. What do you guys advise about those other platforms?
We haven't seen any changes across any other platforms other than Google and Yelp at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if Facebook changes their policies just for the same reasons that Google and Yelp has at some point in the future. I don't know about the other ones, though. I'm not sure how many reviews they're getting and whether from their standpoint it makes sense to do that. But as far as I'm aware of, those are the only two that have made any changes at this point.
Yeah, those are the only two I've heard of.
Same.
Okay, one thing I wanted to come back to, which was about customer communication, and the topic of reviews came up because this was a means to communicate with the business, and we talked about some of the more effective channels that people were using, Instagram and Facebook. How should businesses communicate to their? I'm trying to say, how should businesses communicate to their customers about how to communicate with them? What do you recommend about that? Like, if you want to get a message to us, if you want to talk to us, if you want to convey information, do you have any recommendations around there? If you understood my convoluted question.
I'm not sure I understood your convoluted question.
Well,
but
so
I'm lucky I have a dog.
But you're gonna.
I'm going to answer it anyway.
Yes, that's what I said.
I'm going to answer what I think is your question.
Very good.
I was out walking around downtown this morning, which is a ghost town, and just about every business that's closed has some kind of notice from the owner on its door with their phone number on it saying, if you need something, call me. And to me, that's a really good way to deal with it, at least in a small town, that people know that I don't know under what circumstances I would need to go into the cowboy clothing store downtown, but I know that guy has a sign on his door that if you need something, call me. And if you call me, he's going to answer the phone and he's going to talk to you and he's going to try to help you out.
Yeah, so you did answer my question, and
okay.
but what if you're a big brand that has franchisees, for example? Same advice? Anybody?
I think, like, to Mary's point, I've definitely seen multi-location brands like do the old-fashioned, like sometimes even write with a Sharpie on a piece of paper and say, like, we're not doing, coronavirus testing at this location or something like that. But from a digital standpoint, again, kind of going back to all of the elements available to you on like a Google My Business profile, if you can update the name, the description and posts are going to be really helpful. I think what we've dealt with is we have thought about how much we want to promote trying to call the business, because I think call volumes for a really large chain are going to be a little bit higher now. And we don't want to send, a customer to a loop where they're going to be on hold for a long time. So as much as possible, just like trying to say, visit our website where you hopefully have more information published about your openings, closings, or services in the meantime. Any other communication methods. So descriptions, title, Google posts, that type of thing from a digital standpoint.
Real quickly on messaging, on bots, on chat, just any examples of people using that really effectively at this time?
I haven't seen any, actually.
No, I haven't either.
I think when I think of messaging, I think that's, if you think of crawl, walk, run, that's usually running. And I think many of these businesses might have been running and they're back to walking or sometimes crawling, just trying to get to where they need to be to get communications out there.
I think that's exactly true. When you see like a piece of paper with a Sharpie on it posted to the door, it's like, any method possible to kind of get this information out is what brands are resorting to.
So, go ahead. Did somebody want to add to that?
I'm good. I was going to say something, but we're good. Greg, go ahead.
You can say something, Adam. Go ahead.
It's kind of a not COVID specific, but hearing Mary's story about seeing the Western wear shop owner put their cell phone number or their home phone number up on the store reminded me of a local business that I came across. It's actually part of a large auto dealer chain. And in every negative review for the past 3 years that has come across this auto dealer's website, the owner of this dealership puts his cell phone number on there and says, call me directly. And I think what I heard from Mary is very much in line with what he's doing. He has he has like well over 1,000 reviews and a 4.9 rating for an auto dealership, which is kind of amazing. But I think it really speaks to this could be an opportunity if you're talking to your clients about how to communicate to their customers is, listen, it's not that much additional work to make it more personable and to interact one-on-one. Most people don't want to call your cell phone. They have zero reason to call your cell phone. But if they want to, make yourself available. You should. If you're a store manager for a multi-location franchisee, if you're a SMB owner, like it seems like this might be an opportunity to kind of move in that direction as well.
We haven't been able to get to all the questions, but it seems like most of them are being answered. If your question hasn't been answered, or if you have a question you haven't asked, please ask it. We still have about 15-ish minutes to go, but I want to touch on something that we talked about in our earlier discussion, not on this call, but a previous one. There's a lot of tactical stuff which we're talking about, communication, using GMB reviews and so on. But what about advice that you're giving to your clients and customers sort of more broadly? And Mary, I think in particular, you brought up the idea of this whole COVID crisis is an opportunity or coronavirus crisis, to be true to my team, is an opportunity to transform. That there's some deeper opportunity here hidden within the kind of crisis. Could you expand upon that? And I'd love for you guys to talk about that a little bit.
Well, the first thing that struck me in Colorado when they started telling us you've got to stay away from each other, things got bad very quickly. And one of the most telling tweets that I saw online was, well, I guess we'll really find out which conferences could have been emails. And I think that that's true. I think that it's going to wake a lot of people up to the fact that maybe you don't need to have every single one of your employees physically present in your office every day, that there are some other ways to deal with some of this. And then when I was talking to Mike Blumenthal the other day, he's older guy, he's my age, he has asthma, and he just made a matter of fact statement that I'm not going to be able to travel again until there's a vaccine. So there's probably a lot of people that are in that position, that somehow their immune system is compromised and they are physically threatened by the whole idea of not having social distancing. So I think that that's one thing that might transform, is that the people who have been saying that they can't have people doing remote work, or that they want people in person instead of just being able to face with them on the phone. Hopefully that's going to change.
Okay, so that's a potential change coming out of this, but is there also sort of an opportunity to use this time to come out ahead of it, come out on the other side, more effective, stronger, improved in some way? What are your thoughts? Anybody in the group there for your customers?
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's definitely forced a lot of businesses to get creative, especially like there's a massage studio that I go to, and they're offering online kind of here's how to give a back massage sessions tomorrow. They're charging a really nominal fee for it, but just kind of think it's forcing a lot of businesses to think outside the box and get a lot more creative with still trying to generate revenue while they can't have people physically coming into their locations. And I'm hoping and thinking that that creativity will kind of continue after this, because businesses have been kind of forced to get creative, and hopefully they'll continue to keep up that level of creativity and coming up with new service offerings after this passes.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. I think businesses that haven't adapted to have any type of digital offering or service are going to be forced to right now. And I would imagine that something like that is long lasting. So I keep thinking about all these people on, Twitter and Facebook that are like, I need a haircut. I need to cut my bangs. What do I do? Like, we should have, all these salons. If you're, if you're a marketer out there doing DIY haircuts, you should be posting a video for your customers that can't come in. This is how you trim your bangs, or, give yourself a 2-week haircut, to hold you over till your next appointment. Suggesting these types of services for them, because especially if they're a franchisee or a small business, it might be outside of their mindset right now to be able to think creatively. They might be thinking about how they're going to pay their employees, or, all of these bills and stuff. So, if they still have services with you, or if you've, offered them a period of time where you're going to give them services for free, try helping them to think creatively. What can they do to still reach and serve their community right now? And I absolutely think that's going to be something that transforms, a number of industries that haven't adapted digitally yet.
I would add one more thing, which is I was thinking about the woman, I think Melanie from Spain, talking about her concern about if she temporarily closes one listings, there's going to be duplicate listings that they might end up on. I think this is a time. I keep using the word opportunity, which is maybe too much, but anyways, this is a time when all like duplicate listings are endless, right? And sometimes they just get pushed to the bottom of the to-do list. There's a lot of tasks like just cleanup and just maintenance and things like that, where there's more resources right now available for those sorts of things. So it is an opportunity to go in and just kind of clear the table out of all of that. So once this pauses, you're back, like you're even further ahead than you were before it started.
And I would say that if this is a concern now, for you to then communicate this internally, that's like, this is why we should probably have resources to address these types of things, because you might have not thought they were a problem before, but they are, and this is how it's impacting us and our visibility.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys, as marketers and agencies in most cases, what are you doing? To like, people face a lot of churn right now, pausing it. Niki, you alluded to this, pausing campaigns, clients that are saying they can't pay. Or, what are you doing creatively to work with these people? What solutions have you come up with?
Well,
we've had a couple clients that have had to cancel their paid search budgets, and their clients where we've only been doing that one channel with them, and we've been able to guide a couple of them, encourage a couple of them to switch their budgets over to SEO efforts instead, and in that way they're still getting some benefit, and we'll see some results, even if not immediate as their paid search campaigns would see results. They'll see not totally lose all of that traction while they pull those budgets.
I've seen a couple of small operators, probably one person, freelancers online, offering to do SEO now and you can pay me later kind of thing. I also know of some people who their small businesses are closed. They're not really trying to get any revenue from them. They've just said, let us know when we can be of help again. Because I think that the main thing we all need to be keeping in the very front of our minds at this time is to think about people over profit. I did see a tweet where somebody said, at so-and-so are still trying to enforce their 90-day notice period, and they're auto-renewing thousands. So, that's going to leave a really bad taste in everyone's mouth if you are doing something like that. You need to go above and beyond to be empathetic, understanding, and really trying to help small businesses rather than trying to stick to them.
So we only have a few minutes left here. We can go on for a while, but we have a few minutes left. So I want to encourage anybody who has any remaining questions to ask those questions. But I want you guys to speculate a little bit on, we got into this a little bit earlier, but specifically with regard to either GMB or local SEO in general, what do you think is going to come out of this? What do you think are going to be the longer term changes that we'll see after the outbreak subsides?
So
GMB
I'll
or SEO?
speculate. Yeah, I'll speculate here around GMB. So I know there's been a lot of bugs recently, a lot of issues, but I think Google has come out with a number of updates in the last 2 weeks, like more than they've released all year. So I think while we can kind of complain about the issues a lot of brands are seeing, I think this is forcing large organizations such as, Google or Yelp or Foursquare and Facebook to show them how nimble they can be and really kind of push the issue on some of these features a lot of consumers have been asking for a really long time. So I think there's a little bit of benefit there that, maybe they'll test more, push out more of these types of features that allow consumers and businesses to, communicate a little bit better digitally, which, might be hard to understand right now, but in the long run, I think could be a good benefit.
And I'm hoping that Google will realize that they don't have enough support. They don't have enough support in good times. And that's why it totally falls apart in bad times.
Yeah.
And they really need to step up their game.
And they were behind from a support standpoint. They were backlogged substantially right before the COVID virus happened. And talk about escalation and things just piling up right now. It's no surprise that they had to basically shut down all user-generated content because they didn't even have enough support people prior to that happening just to get edits through and things along those lines. So I totally agree with that. I think and I absolutely agree with Krystal saying that they're moving faster. I've never seen Google, or I can't remember the last time I saw Google release something and then pull it back because it was buggy and not fit for consumption. And they did that with the temporarily closed, where it was in the dashboard for like a period of a few hours, and then they yanked it back out to work on it some more, and then they officially released it like 2 days later. I think that shows a willingness for them to try and move much faster, which was encouraging. And I also think that a lot of the changes that we're seeing are going to be permanent. Some of them won't. Like the API posts, I suspect is it's very clear. They said that it's going to be temporary, and I can see why that would be. But these new attributes and these new labels for temporarily closed and things along those lines, I would anticipate those are all going to be supported moving forward, and I expect to see as well over the next couple of weeks.
Niki, any thoughts on that?
I think, yeah, just exactly what everyone has said, that I think hopefully we'll see more active support from Google as a result of this, especially in times where it's definitely beneficial to businesses, and quicker adoption and rollout of features that would be especially helpful in future important times.
And I would just add for local SEO in general, I know we're kind of trying to say this isn't an opportunity, but I think it shows within organizations, large and small, how valuable local SEO is. Because I think a lot of people that could ignore it before are now saying, like, how do we get our hours updated on Google, that never paid attention to it before? So I hope that it really communicates the power of local SEO, to the people that don't realize how valuable it is today.
I think it also communicates to Google how much power and how much responsibility they actually have. Like, as local SEOs, we've been clamoring for years for more control over the knowledge panel and to be able to express our businesses, because the majority of, like, one of the things we did is we looked at how many impressions our knowledge panel, like our clients' knowledge panels, got across like a huge enterprise brand versus how many website visits they were getting. And it's like 10 to 1, like 10 times as many people see your business in the knowledge panel that actually make it to your website. And for Google to not allow just basic messaging and updates. You can, like, I can see why they didn't want to deal with it before, but now in situations like this, I think the light bulb hopefully is starting to go off that yes, we need to start allowing these local businesses and these small businesses to have more control over how they appear within the knowledge panel.
And I would also hope that it kind of opens Google's eyes a little bit as to how valuable having good agencies and SEOs out here is to local businesses, because on and off over the years, they've acted like they were trying to cut us out of the middle. Whereas we know that our small businesses can't do this stuff without some help.
Yep.
So I think maybe it would help if Google stopped trying to cut us out of the middle and took our advice once in a while.
So we've come essentially to the end of this really excellent discussion, and hopefully it was very good for folks listening in real time, and then the rebroadcast audience. But I want to ask one final question for each of you to kind of weigh in on before we leave. And I want to remind people that next week is going to be Ginny Marvin with live with Search Engine Land on PPC. This kind of discussion with a PPC focus. But before we go, you know, at some point this will pass, right? I mean, we don't know whether this is going to be a month, 2 months, if America will be open by Easter, as some people are saying. Most likely it will not. But when this does sort of come to pass in the US and the rest of the world, what is your advice to agencies and in-house marketers about what they should be doing to prepare for that time, or how they should get ready for that time? Do you have a couple of words on that topic? And that'll be your final, and any final remarks you want to make, and we'll just do a round robin and then we'll close.
So I know a guy who he's decided to devote his downtime to building local links for his clients, and he's not charging them for the work, but he knows that if he does that, when things open back up again, it's going to help his clients rank better. And I think that's a great strategy.
Anything else you want to add in general about anything we've talked about, or anything you didn't get a chance to say?
No, I want other people to have a turn.
Okay.
I think one thing that I'm encouraging clients to do that are pausing their budgets with us right now is to continue the momentum that we've had with them. So whether that's continuing to create content on their own or build out their content calendars, so that when we do hit the ground, they do come back with us again in a few months when this is all settled down, that we can kind of hit the ground running and we don't lose as much momentum as we could if they don't kind of continue things on their own as much as they're able to. And just letting them know that we're still available for questions, even if they're not paying us at the moment. I think that goes a long way too with clients.
Yeah.
The one thing that we have a lot of clients that are finally, I should say fully, but it's almost like a finally embracing Google posts that have been maybe resistant to its effectiveness and things along those lines. And I think it's been good to see the results that are happening. So the one thing that I would recommend for what happens afterwards is whatever you're doing now, if you can track with UTM parameters, if you can make sure that you're benchmarking, that you're looking so that you have case studies that are useful, you could be setting yourself up to do some of what you're doing now in the future as well. You're going to need the data to prove it, but there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to build that now.
And I would just kind of round this out by, sharing kind of, we've temporarily adjusted our KPIs for a lot of our brands. So, if for the first 2.5-3 months of the year, you were looking at, click-through optimization, in, website views and all of those things, a lot of the times what we've been doing is like, what is most important right now? It's really helpful to see, clients being like, you published my special hours in, a matter of minutes. That is the most valuable thing to us right now. So I think kind of singing your praises, which your praises right now might be a little bit different. But I really love Adam's recommendation where it's like, whatever you're doing right now, track it, because we're kind of squished into this weird period of time where we're trying to do everything we can to communicate to consumers. but that's what we should be doing all the time. Like our goals right now are just really, the same as they should be all the time, just a little bit refocused. So, just anything you can do to share that with your organization, the brands you're supporting, I think would be helpful long-term.
Okay, great way to end this. And thank you all so much for your wisdom and perspective. And thanks for everybody for your questions and attending. Live with Search Engine Land will continue. We're going to keep doing these as a way to bring you information and good discussion at this time of chaos, but also opportunity, hopefully. So you guys stay on for a minute, and everybody else have a great rest of your day and weekend. And for people in Europe, have a drink and enjoy yourselves. And we'll see you next week with Ginny and PPC.
Stay safe, everybody.
Thanks,
Yes,
Bye.
absolutely.